Have you ever wondered why you are always the first person to say, "I'm sorry," even when you haven't done anything wrong? Or why you feel a sudden, intense wave of anxiety the moment everything around you becomes quiet and peaceful? We tell ourselves lies like, "I'm just a really careful person," or "I'm just introverted. I don't like asking for favors." But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what really built these personality traits? The truth is often heavier than we admit. Those habits you think are normal, sometimes even the traits you pride yourself on, might actually be invisible scars. They are the remnants of a survival mechanism that your inner child built to protect you from a painful past. Today, on Psychovive, we aren't just making the list. We are going to peel back the perfect armor to reveal 5 common behaviors rooted in childhood trauma. You might see yourself in these descriptions, and if your heart skips a beat because it feels a little too familiar, take a deep breath. You are not alone. Let's begin this journey of truth together. Part 1. Redefining normal. Why we normalize trauma. Before we dive into the 5 signs, we need to understand something fundamental about a child's brain. When a child grows up in a toxic environment, whether it's physical abuse, or the more common emotional neglect, narcissistic parenting, or a household that was always on edge, the child doesn't have the option to leave to survive. That young, developing brain has to normalize the abnormal. If chaos is served for dinner every night, then chaos becomes home. If silence means a storm is coming, the child learns to fear the silence. These coping mechanisms helped you survive childhood, but now that you've grown up and left that environment, your brain forgot to turn off the alarm system. You are carrying the heavy armor of the past into your present life, and you're just calling it your personality. Here are the 5 pieces of that armor. Part 2. The 5 behaviors. Deep dive analysis. 1. The unconditional apology, over-apologizing, and the fawn response. Imagine you are in a grocery store, and a stranger bumps into you from behind. What is your first reaction? Do you immediately turn around and say, "I'm sorry," even though you were the one who got it? This isn't just politeness. In psychology, this is the fawn response, one of the 4 trauma responses. Alongside fight, flight, and freeze, if your childhood involved constant criticism, or if you lived with caregivers who were emotionally volatile, you learned a hard lesson. Everything that goes wrong is somehow my fault. Apologizing becomes a shield. You apologize preemptively to stop someone else's anger before it starts. You apologize for your presence. You apologize for taking up space. You apologize for having needs. Your inner child believes that if you take all the blame, you will be safe. This submission creates an illusion of control in a chaotic world. But in the present, it makes you feel small, insecure, and an easy target for emotional manipulators. Remember, your existence is not a mistake that requires an apology. To extreme hyper-independence, "I'm fine. I can do it myself. No help needed. Thanks." Do you feel uncomfortable or even physically cringy when someone offers to help you? Would you rather struggle alone until you burn out, or handle a sickness by yourself in the dark, rather than pick up the phone and call a friend? Many people view this as strength or grit, but in the language of trauma, this is hyper-independence. This behavior often stems from an abandonment wound or emotional neglect. As a child, you may have signaled for help. You may have cried. You may have needed protection. But the response was silence, indifference, or worse, mockery for being weak. After enough disappointments, your brain formed a heartbreakingly logical conclusion: no one will protect me. Only I can protect me. Hoping for help only leads to pain. So, you built a fortress. You refuse help not because you don't need it, but because you fear the cost of that help. You fear feeling indebted, or you fear the moment they will inevitably let you down. Independence is healthy, but if your independence isolates you from the world, it is the silent cry of a child terrified of being hurt again. 3. Superhuman room reading abilities. Hypervigilance. Can you walk into a room and immediately sense the tension before anyone speaks a word? Can you hear the footsteps of a family member and know exactly what mood they are in: happy, sad, or angry. Are you sensitive to the slightest micro shift in someone's tone of voice? You might think you are just observant, have high EQ, or are an empath. However, the line between empathy and hypervigilance is very thin. For those who grew up walking on eggshells, reading emotions was a matter of survival. You had to know if your parent was in a bad mood so you could adjust your behavior, make yourself invisible, or avoid punishment. Your nervous system is permanently stuck in high alert. You are constantly scanning the environment for potential threats. It's a radar that never turns off. This makes you a great friend who is attuned to others, but it drains your energy. You worry about everyone else's emotions more than your own because, subconsciously, your safety depends on their satisfaction. 4. Over-explaining the JADE technique. When someone asks you a simple question like, "Why were you late?" do you give a short answer? Or do you launch into a full presentation, providing evidence, reasons, and tiny details to prove it wasn't your fault? This is called JADE: justify, argue, defend, explain. This behavior usually comes from being gaslighted or not being believed in the past. If your childhood was filled with false accusations, suspicion, or if your words never held weight, you develop the habit of witness protection in everyday life. You feel like you are always on trial and the world is the judge. You are terrified of being misunderstood. You provide too much unnecessary information because you believe that if people just understood the entire context, they wouldn't be mad at you. They wouldn't abandon you. But listen closely. People who love and respect you do not need a court defense. For you to be understood, your truth is enough. It doesn't need to be decorated with fear. 5. The guilt of resting and the doom of calm. This is perhaps the most paradoxical behavior. We all crave peace, but when things are finally quiet, you feel wrong. When you sit down to relax, watch a movie, or just do nothing, a knot of guilt tightens in your stomach. You feel lazy. You feel useless. Or worse, you feel anxious. Your heart rate goes up. You are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Why? Because for a nervous system adapted to chaos, peace feels like a threat. In your past, the quiet moments were often just the calm before the storm. Peace meant you were letting your guard down, and when you let your guard down, you got hurt. So, you subconsciously seek busyness, or even create little dramas or problems to bring your stress levels back up to a familiar zone. You are addicted to cortisol, the stress hormone, without realizing it. Doing nothing forces you to face the suppressed emotions inside, and that is terrifying. Part 3. Deep analysis. Why does it hurt? Why does realizing this feel like a physical ache in our chest? Because we realize that the inner child is still running the adult's life. We wear expensive clothes. We work professional jobs. But deep down, our emotional operating system is frozen at age 7, scared and lonely. These behaviors don't mean you are broken. Never think of yourself as defective. Instead, honor these traits. Thank the apologizing. Thank the sensitivity. Thank the independence. Why? Because they kept you alive during your hardest years. They were the soldiers that protected you when you were defenseless. But the war is over now. You are safe. You are an adult. These soldiers don't need to fight anymore. It is time to let them retire. Part 4. Healing and advice. The healing shift. So, how do we let go? This process is not an overnight fix. It is a journey of reparenting yourself. Notice and name it. The first step is mindfulness. When you start apologizing profusely, pause for 3 seconds. Ask yourself, did I actually do something wrong? Or am I just afraid of conflict? Name the fear. Test your trust. When you feel the urge to do everything yourself, try a small experiment. Ask someone to hand you a glass of water, or ask a friend to just listen to your day. Observe the result. Did the world end? No. As you see people help you willingly, your brain starts to rebuild trust. Practice safety and stillness. Spend 5 minutes a day doing absolutely nothing. When the anxiety hits, speak to it. Thank you for the warning, but I am safe right now. Teach your nervous system that peace is safe. Not dangerous. Boundaries over explanations. Instead of a long story, practice short sentences. I can't come because I'm busy. Period. You have the right to your privacy. My friends, discovering that you carry childhood trauma is not a life sentence. It is the first step toward liberation. You are not what happened to you. You are who you choose to become starting today. Your inner child has been waiting a long time to be seen, heard, and loved, not by your parents, not by a partner, but by you. Embrace the child and tell them, it's over. We are safe now. Healing can be lonely and full of tears, but you don't have to walk this path alone. Here at Psychovive, we are always here, walking beside you as we peel back the layers to find your brightest self. If this video touched your heart, or if you saw yourself in these signs, please leave a comment sharing your story. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell for Psychovive. Every subscription is a huge motivation for us to continue spreading understanding and healing. I'll see you in the next video, where we will not just survive, but thrive together. Take care, and please, be kind to yourself.